is the ceremonial welcome of the Russian president, after which he will be going into a bilateral meeting with the Indian Prime Minister. Now, these hours of discussions will be on key issues such as defense, trade, energy, and Putin is also scheduled to then address a joint press conference at the Hyderabad House in the capital, New Delhi, which will be followed by a meeting with the President of India at the Rashtrapati Bhavan during his visit. Now, when we talk about the India-Russia summit, it aims to boost trade with the top buyer of Russia's arms and seaborne oil, as Western sanctions are now squeezing their decades-old ties. Now, Moscow has been India's top arms supplier. That's another topic which India and Russia will be talking about. They have been India's top arms supplier for decades, and has also said that it wants to import more Indian goods in an effort to grow trade to $100 billion by 2030. That is another 5 years. Now, that so far has been skewed in its favor due to New Delhi's energy imports. PM Modi and President Putin are also expected to discuss on other topics, which include labor and civil nuclear energy, with the sides expected to announce new agreements to showcase the resilience of their relations. Now, these are the visuals from the Rashtrapati Bhavan that came in when President Putin received a ceremonial welcome at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, with the President of India and Indian Prime Minister welcoming the leader. After which he will be heading towards Rajghat for the wreath-laying ceremony, after which he will have a bilateral meeting with the Indian Prime Minister, then a joint press conference, after which President Putin will be heading to the Rashtrapati Bhavan for a meeting with President Draupadi Murmu. All right, we have joining us our Assistant Editor of Foreign Affairs, Siddhant. Again, we have the topics that we know that are going to be on discussions will be defense, trade, energy, and also nuclear energy. What are the other aspects which are striking when it comes to India and Russia?
Well, there are various elements which will be striking today when it comes to the outcomes of this visit. We just have seen those visuals from the Rashtrapati Bhavan, India's presidential palace, being beamed. Of course, the focus will be on optics as well, how the both leaders engage. The Indian Prime Minister in the past has been to Russia. He was in Russia last year 2 times for the annual summit, and then, of course, for the BRICS summit as well. This is a visit of the Russian president coming after a gap of several years. The last time the Russian president was in India was in 2021. But the system of annual summit has been almost 2 decades old. We know that it was in the early 2000s that the idea of the annual summit started under the leadership of the then Indian Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. And the idea of the summit is to hold the summit alternatively between the 2 countries, with the leaders visiting each other's countries on an alternate basis, and that remained the cornerstone. In fact, India has this mechanism only with 2 countries, that is Russia and with Japan. We know that the focus with both the countries is to increase its engagement. And as we have been talking since morning, a time-tested partnership is one word that comes into mind when it comes to India-Russia relationship. Soviet Union played an important role when the India-Pakistan war broke out in 1971 during the liberation of Bangladesh. The Soviets were there with Indians when the West was completely backing a dictatorship towards India's West, that is Pakistan. And that relationship continues with India in highs and lows. So today's day will be an important day. It will go an important day in terms of the geopolitics of this relationship, in terms of multipolarity, and as to how both sides up their engagement in every front possible, from trade to economics to defense to space.
Absolutely, and important, as you say, will be observed by a lot of leaders from across the world, and especially U.S. And it's interesting how we know some U.S. officials will be, there are talks between India and U.S. when it comes to tariffs. Talk to us about how this whole meeting between Putin and PM Modi, this not just optics, but these bilaterals will be impacting and influencing these trade talks, if at all, with U.S.